It is 1 o'clock in London, and it is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. Welcome back for session number 7, the top 5 things to know about when planning a gourmet tour. And I am delighted to introduce to you today Sheree Mitchell. Sheree is a tour operator based in Portugal, and she specializes in the higher end of the market, which is a part of the market, of the food travel market, that we do not always give a lot of attention to. And it's an important part of the market nonetheless. And we have invited Sheree to share what she knows about serving this end of the market. So Sheree, would you like to take it away?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Okay, hi, welcome everybody. Let's get you guys on my screen. Can you see the first slide there, Eric?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good. So hi everyone. I would say good afternoon because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in Lisbon, but I know we're around the world. So hello, good morning or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Sheree Mitchell. I am the president and founder of Immersive Global. And we'll get into this right away because we have a lot of material to cover. So I'd like to go over just really briefly what Immersive Global is to kind of set the tone for the nuts and bolts that we're going to get into later on. Then we'll talk about the top 5 things to know when designing a gourmet tour, a quick example of how we communicate what we do and who we are to our clients and potential clients, as well as some of our VIP culinary experiences and solidarity efforts. And then just really quickly towards the end, I'd like to get into some of the ideas that the team and I have been throwing around for our new normal, so our post-pandemic program changes. And then the most important part, Q&A. So Immersive Global is a boutique tour operator that specializes in high-end experiences for discerning clients. We mainly serve the US market. We're based in Miami, which is where we started, and Lisbon, as well as Costa Rica, which was our very first destination. So Costa Rica was Immersive Global's first spot before it was actually even incorporated as Immersive Global. Portugal is our most recent, which started in 2015. And for the sake of the presentation today, we're going to speak primarily about our programs and offers here in Portugal. So the type of products and offerings that we have here. We work with fit clients as well as with small groups. Our groups are usually 18 members or less, and we design single-day or multi-day programs. Everything is customized, tailor-made for the client. We do not currently have programs that are scheduled where a client can just kind of hop on a certain date. Everything is designed customly to the client's needs. So we specialize in art tourism, political tourism, cultural tourism, faith-based tourism, and culinary tourism. If you were to look at the average client for Immersive Global, you would see that they are all from the US. The average salary is 95,000 USD a year. The age ranges between 35 to 75 years old. They take 2.5 long haul trips a year, and each of those trips is about 8 days long. The comfort point that they don't mind spending for these types of programs is about 4,000 USD per person, double occupancy without airfare. When we talk to them about their inspirations for food and wine experiences, they usually cite Anthony Bourdain. And when we ask them what are they looking for just in general, they'll tell us authentic, fun, exciting, and new. And usually when we talk to them about their previous food and wine experiences, just to get an idea of what have they done before and did they enjoy it or what would they have changed, they will almost always cite a walking tour in New York or a long weekend in Sonoma or Napa Valley. Out tasting wine. That's one of our main wine regions in the US. So the client cycle from start to finish takes about 9 to 12 months from the initial contact when the client reaches out to us. This is for the group programs. When the client reaches out to us to say, hey, we're ready to do this, it usually takes about 9 to 12 months to create these types of programs and for the client to actually be ready to travel. So Immersive Global has a couple of philosophies which I think are important to go over before we get into the nuts and bolts of the how to design these programs. We believe that we're the facilitator or the platform to allow for these clients to really engage in food and wine culture here in Portugal. We do not pretend to be the authority on food and wine tourism here. So we allow our clients to define their own level of culinary adventure. Some of our clients are very adventurous, and other clients like to stay a little closer to what they know, but still with the local flair. And we only share and sell what we know, trust, and like, which is really important. So the top 5 things to know when designing a gourmet food tour: you absolutely have to know the client. This is by far the most important. You also really need to know your destination. I would strongly suggest that you design 100% of the experience yourself and not necessarily delegate any parts of this program to other tour operators in your destination. It's important to have complete control over the product. You would also want to prepare what I consider fail-proof support materials, and you want to take advantage of real-time feedback. So create opportunities or take advantage of opportunities to get feedback from the clients during the actual program itself. And most importantly, have contingency plans in place. So a couple of the things that we do to get to know the client: we usually spend about 25 to 50 contact hours with the client over that 9 to 12 month process. So we really get to know the client either over the phone or Zoom meetings, or even via email. We also ask them to fill out a very detailed dietary restrictions form that we have embedded in our website. We'll send it out to the client. The client will read through, answer questions, and if we need to follow up to get any clarifying information from them, then we do that. And it's probably a little difficult to see because it's small print, but some of the questions are, if you have nut allergies, and if it's tree nuts or if it's ground nuts, what foods do you prefer? What foods do you not prefer? And it's also important to note that for the purpose of our programs and what we do, if a client tells us that they are allergic to, I'll give an example, garlic, which was an example that we just had back in December with a group. One client said that she was allergic to garlic. Well, later we found out it wasn't really an allergy. She just doesn't like it, which is fine. So she never had garlic exposed in any of her dishes. And we treat all of our clients' preferences, restrictions, and allergies as if they're all allergies. So I think that's important to mention. We don't get into a conversation about what really is a medical allergy or not. We also talk to the clients about their favorite foods, food tours, which is something that we mentioned earlier about the clients who mentioned that they have enjoyed going to Sonoma or Napa or doing walking tours in New York City. Knowing the destination is also really important. This is what you're selling. This is the product that you're selling to these clients. So here in Portugal, we know what the strengths are, and we also know what the limitations are. So we choose not to promise something that we actually know we can't sell. So we get a lot of requests for kosher-based tours. Portugal in general is now starting to promote its Jewish heritage tourism. And so many of the clients from the US who are coming here are looking for tours that also will have foods that they're able to eat. Unfortunately, at this time, Portugal does not have the variety in kosher restaurants or catering partners to be able to provide these types of meals. And so we have to tell them that unfortunately we can't. We'd love to be able to do that, but at this time, the country is not prepared for that. The same thing with halal, the same thing with, I think that was vegan. Yes, the same thing with vegan, and the same thing with low fat. When we get clients who request gluten, we have a very candid conversation with them and tell them, we can provide a multi-day experience for you, but you're not going to have the same variety as the non-gluten members on the trip. And the same thing with clients who are requesting no sugar or low sugar. This is Portugal. So we get into the dietary restrictions checklist, and here is basically where we're able to compile all the information that we have collected from our clients over our conversations with them on the phone or through that form that I mentioned earlier that's embedded in our website. And we're able to create basically a list of all of the foods they can eat and what they cannot eat. And we use this to provide support to our chefs, our partners that we use for these programs, as well as our tour guides and our tour leaders and the hotels that we choose for the clients. Another point that I mentioned, or number 3 on the list, is to design 100% of the experience yourself. This is really important. You want to have complete control over the program. For the type of segment that we service, it's important for us to be able to directly contact our providers, our local partners, and speak to them about the program versus working through a different agency. So this is the fun part, because we get to go back out and visit all of our restaurant providers and all of our winery providers, and basically go through the program as a site visit that's specific to this particular group to make sure that they're able to curate all of the experiences that we want to have. We also use what we call our meal maps. And if we were to go back to the Excel sheet, we have all of our 26, in this case, 26 clients for this particular program. Once we've gone over everything, we notice that we have 6 subgroups within that one larger group. And we create meal maps based on what each group is able to have or not have. So with our no restrictions, we have about 10 clients. With our less restrictions, no pork, 6 clients, and so on. We want to make sure, the purpose of the meal map is to make sure that we are not repeating our dishes. So you can see in detail here for our lunch map, no restrictions group. We know they're having sea bass and lamb on day 1. Day 2, there is no group lunch. And then day 3, perhaps there's lobster and beef and so on. We just want to make sure that we see what their main options are going to be for each meal so there's no repetition. So in this case, with this particular group, we had 12 different meal maps, 1 for lunch and 1 for dinner for each of the subgroups. The next thing that we do, number 4, is to prepare the fail-proof support materials. So some of these will be pretty self-explanatory, I think, and then other ones have been the complete result of other situations that we've experienced in the past that have not gone as well as planned. So all of the clients will receive a very detailed daily itinerary pre-trip, where they'll have information about the guides who will be going along with them, the tour leaders who will be with them the entire time, as well as the chefs that they'll be meeting and the winemakers that they'll be meeting throughout that day. And what we've noticed is that for the clients who are really excited and want to engage with our partners here on the ground and also the destination prior to travel, they will find these people on social media and start connecting with them. So when they get here and they're meeting them in person for the first time, they're able to say, hey, yeah, I remember seeing your post about this, your post about that, which we think is an amazing opportunity to continue to create these links that we enjoy providing for our clients. We also use personalized menus for all of our programmed meals or lunches and dinners. And so those 6 groups, if we were to go back to the no restrictions or the less restrictions, no pork, the vegetarian, and so on, each of those groups at every single meal will have their own personalized menu, which they enjoy. Continuing on with the fail-proof support materials, another thing that we started using about 3 years ago were these place cards that we actually put on the tables during the group meals. And one of the main reasons, in addition to actually looking nice and being kind of an extra support for the clients as they're coming in and sitting down, we noticed that it also helps the wait staff. It's like a last stop reminder, before the plate actually touches the table, of what that client can and cannot have. So it's a little difficult to see because this picture is not that great, but on the side, you'll see that the place card says in Portuguese as well as in English that the client cannot have X, Y, or Z. Here, I think it's no shellfish. And we notice that the clients enjoy these place cards so much that some of them will actually take them, with them. They'll pack them up after this meal and they'll take them with them, and they'll use them at the other restaurants they visit on their own throughout the program. Which leads us to our food allergy card, or our dietary restriction card. This is a card that is printed in Portuguese, so for our clients to use when they arrive. It's a part of their welcome package that they get when they first arrive. And it has all of their dietary restrictions or food allergies written out in Portuguese, so the client can take this with them when they go visit restaurants and snack bars on their own that are outside of the group meals. We also provide them with a customized food and drink recommendations list. So, we know what they like and we know how they define good food and wine tours. So we give them our personal recommendations for all of the different places within Portugal that they visit. If they're going to be in Lisbon for 3 days and only 2 meals during 3 days are group meals, and they obviously have other opportunities to explore on their own, we want to make sure they feel supported in finding places that we highly recommend. And number 5 is to get real-time feedback. And this is something that's taken quite a bit of time to get to the level that I've always wanted. I think it's still a work in progress. So we use the all eyes on deck approach, which basically means when we have these groups here, our tour leader and tour guides that are with the clients, in addition to the wait staff at the restaurants, are all paying attention to make sure that the clients are enjoying every single part of this experience. And if there's any issue whatsoever, the tour leader is always empowered to make decisions on the spot about how to remedy the problem if there were a problem. Another step that we have that's actually post-experience that's a little less effective is when our clients are done with their meals and they're going back out to their private cars or to the buses, the drivers have been trained to ask them if they enjoyed their experience. So if the drivers overhear anything that we need to know about, they will inform the tour leader, and the tour leader will make a decision on how to approach the client to get more information about whatever the problem was, if there were a problem. So those are the top 5 things that I would suggest. Perhaps they're not the best, but they're the ones that have definitely worked for us. And I hope that it's been informative for you all as well. So now we're going to take a really quick break and see an example of how we communicate what we do at Immersive Global to our potential clients. In addition to having obviously really good images that depict your product, we also have a video, and I'm going to ask that Eric share that link with you guys now. And if you all don't mind just opening a separate browser and watching the video, it takes 2 minutes and then we'll reconvene.
I've just shared it, and Sheree, I opened up your link and posted the YouTube link because I've experienced that sometimes bit.ly links don't always unfold correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think everyone should be done with the video by now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so Immersive Global's VIP Culinary Experiences, and these are unique experiences that we've designed over the past 3 years. One is with Europe's best food journalist for 2020, who happens to be Portuguese. His name is Paulo Salvador, and he has a televised show where he travels around Portugal with a television crew, and they record experiences with very local, off-the-grid restaurants and chefs around the country. He also has a book by the same title, Mesa Nacional, which basically translates to National Dinner Table. And I think he's going into his 5th or 6th season now. So a lot of our clients enjoy meeting him and speaking with him. He's multilingual, speaks various different languages, and is quite the entertainer. We have another experience with a former US ambassador to Portugal. This is our second to the last ambassador. His name is Alan Katz. And this is a very unique opportunity to have dinner or a cocktail with a former US ambassador to get really behind the scenes insight on what it's like living in Portugal as a US diplomat. We have another experience, which is dinner with a Portuguese aristocrat. So this is the Count of Rocamore, or Dom André de Quiroga. And he is one of Portugal's biggest gastronomes, wine enthusiast, and one of the most prolific art collectors. And so he's quite the entertainer as well. There's another experience that we actually just partnered with, and it is a luxury train ride into the Douro Valley. So it is a refurbished train that was used with previous heads of states here in Portugal that departs from Porto, goes out into the Douro Valley for a day, and ends again in the evening in Porto. Each train ride features a different Michelin-starred chef, not just Portuguese, but international as well. And it's just an amazing, lovely experience. You visit a winery, a private winery visit, actually at a property that's not even open for regular scheduled visits. So it's very exclusive. And lastly, there is Harvest Experience with me. We realized that a lot of our clients were requesting to meet me if I were in Portugal at the time that they were coming for coffee or for wine. We luckily get to interact with a lot of clients at my speaking engagements and travel shows and conferences back in the US, or they've learned about us through some of the publications that have thankfully featured Immersive Global or the work that we're doing here. So we now have this Harvest Experience with me during September, where the clients will come and spend a week with our tour guides and our tour leaders, and I will go out and meet with them to do this amazing grape stomping the old-fashioned way, and we'll have lunch together as well. So if you were to visit our website and read over some of our reviews, you'll see that one of the main things that a lot of our clients say is that they really felt taken care of when they were here. They really felt supported. It feels like having a family member or a really good friend design their trip, which is what we have always, wanted. That was our objective all along. So one of the solidarity programs that we're kind of just getting started, it's not something that we initially thought of at first, unfortunately, but luckily it's kind of come about as we have gotten to know more people here in Portugal. What we do is we now curate a list of favorite local specialty shops, and we provide this information to our clients prior to coming. So if they have any request for places that we can recommend for to purchase souvenirs or just other great food experiences that they can have on their own when they're in the different regions, either in Lisbon or down in the Alentejo, south of here, or up in Porto or in central Portugal, we'll have a list of places that we know well and that we recommend, and we send them. And this is great because a lot of these local small mom and pop shops do not have the marketing dollars to be able to reach our clients. So you're not going to see them in the airline magazine, or you're definitely not going to see them in like a Condé Nast. And so we're happy to be able to use our platform to drive attention and traffic to these places. Another thing that we do, I get invited to speak a lot here in Portugal to the hospitality and tourism students, and I never charge for that. That's something that I enjoy doing. And this has been a really good opportunity to brainstorm and share ideas on some of the new things that they're thinking about creating, the new products they're thinking about creating here in Portugal. And it also is a way for me to give them information, market-specific insight on what our type of clients are looking for. And the same thing, the other picture here is also interacting with the president of Visit Portugal or Tourism of Portugal, and a couple of other industry leaders on wine tourism from the US market's perspective. And lastly, I also get invited a lot to new product launches that they have here in Portugal. So if there's like a new cooking school, or it's the National Mushroom Festival or the Regional Mushroom Festival, I'll get invited to participate in these things, which is great. And some of the ideas for post-pandemic program changes. We've mentioned a lot already. I know that Eric gave us a really good list at the beginning of the conference yesterday. And so some of these will be repeats, but for us specifically, we are going to make an effort to gather even more information from the clients regarding any of their concerns traveling in this new world that we are in the process of creating. Also, we have substituted all of our farmers visits, so we will not be visiting any of the farmer market visits. we have decided to eliminate those for the remainder of 2020 and perhaps even the beginning of 2021 until we can get a better handle on how clients are responding to that type of experience. We have requested already from all of our restaurant and hotel partners to give us updated information regarding food safety and sanitation guidelines for their services. We are almost certain that our clients are going to want to have access to this information, so we want to have it prepared. And it's also kind of a way to let our partners know, even though we're not working, or we are working, but we're in downtime right now, please start considering this if you haven't already, because we're going to ask this of you. We will also be adding a couple of additional items to our welcome kit: hand sanitizer, even surgical mask, disposable surgical mask and gloves, just to give our clients yet one more piece of security, if you will, to let them know, yes, we're thinking about you and we want to make sure that you're taken care of. And if you felt like you needed to have these things during your program, you don't have to go scrambling around trying to find them. We also are providing extra training for our local support staff. Everyone who has any contact whatsoever with the client will be receiving extra training. And when marketing the programs, we'll make sure that we continue to use crowdless images. I think everyone's pretty sensitive to that right now. And so we normally do, because our programs are usually really exclusive. So we will just continue to make sure that we're aware of using crowdless images. And also, we're revising our supplier contracts here in Portugal as well as in Costa Rica. And we're revising our client contracts back home in the US. So those are the things that we're doing. And I think that's it for me. If you have questions, please let me know. I'll turn it back over to Eric.
Great. Thank you, Sheree. That was fantastic. Really interesting. Obviously, your trips look really special and something that I hope I can afford to go on one day. So we'll see about that. So let's see. We have a couple of questions here, and if everyone would go ahead and type in some questions for Sheree in the chat box, we'd appreciate it. The first one is, does every client have their own travel agent during the client cycle?
Their own travel agent?
Yes.
Well, so we work with two different groups, so make sure that I can answer this question. We have groups, or we have free independent travelers, right? So they come to us in various different ways. If it's a group, then normally there's either one travel agency in the US that has sent them to us. Sometimes there are groups of food and wine lovers throughout the US who will find us directly, and they don't go through a travel agency to find us. I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, I think the question had to do more with sales and how people are coming to you.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The next question was, can you talk more about the 25 hours of KYC, which I assume is Know Your Customer? Is that for a group or a couple?
That's for group and couple. It's for both. If the client needs a lot of support and attention, we're there to provide it. So we've noticed that we spend about 25 hours for these programs that are 8 days long, and it takes about 9 months from the initial contact to travel. We spend about 25 contact hours throughout that time getting to know them.
Okay.
So it could be the group itself, because normally we would have a group leader that we're corresponding with directly. Sometimes those group leaders feel comfortable giving the clients direct access to us to speak directly to us, or in other times they prefer to be the go-between, or to filter the questions and the liaison between us here in Portugal as a tour operator and the direct client.
Okay. Next question. Where in the US are your travelers from? Which part of the US? And are they homogeneous groups that know each other?
So yes, all of our the groups all know each other, and they are mainly from, I'm from South Florida, I'm from Miami, so we have a really strong South Florida presence. We also have lots of groups coming from New York area, San Francisco, and Philadelphia.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about your marketing. Someone here is asking if you market directly to travel agents, but also I would, given the markets that people are coming from, I'd like to know a little bit more about how people in those markets hear about it. I would say word of mouth is probably a big one, but what
Yes.
else?
Word of mouth is the biggest. The travel conferences that I participate in is also a huge feeder for us. We've gotten a lot of success from being present in the spaces where there's trade and as well as end consumers who are going in looking for travel ideas.
Okay, so you're attending those conferences, but you're not really reaching out to travel agents directly?
I am reaching out to travel agents directly. I'm attending the conferences and a lot of times speaking in the conferences, which of
Okay.
course gives a completely different level of exposure. And yeah, we're reaching out to travel agents and have gotten some really good connections and feeder agents that are using us.
So the personal network that you've built over time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the importance of the personal network cannot go understated. It's something that I think everyone really needs to start working on as soon as they get out of school in their early 20s and start building that network.
Absolutely. That for us has been the largest support to reaching clients. And of course, just the clients that we've gotten to know over the years. As I mentioned earlier, Costa Rica was our first destination, which started in 2002. So we've been building a client base since then. So we reach back out to them and say, we also have this new destination. And within this new destination of Portugal, since 2015, we
Mm.
have all of these different products, so that has helped because once people travel with us, they fall in love with us. Um,
No
if
doubt,
I
no
can't say
doubt.
so myself.
Now, are people communicating with you directly through your website, or do they have your email, or how are they getting in touch?
In various ways, they can communicate with us directly through the website. We try to be as contactable as possible. We're also very busy in social media. So I have people who reach out to me on LinkedIn. On the professional side. We're available on Facebook, or they'll come to us through former clients.
Okay, so pretty much all the usual suspects. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then how do you handle negative guest feedback? Do you even have negative guest feedback?
We do, yes, of course. I wish I could say that we don't have negative guest feedback. We try to nip that in the bud, right? As we say in the US, and which is one of the reasons why we have this all eyes on deck strategy now, where we want to see if there's anyone who is not pleased with something, we want to deal with it in the moment, not let that fester. Because this particular segment that we work with, the clients that we have, they don't mind sharing negative feedback. That's something that if there's something to complain about, you're going to hear about it fast. So as soon as we see that something's not going well, we will do everything possible to remedy that situation.
Well, also too, I would expect that people of that caliber would probably be used to providing more constructive criticism as opposed to attacking you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've even had, we have a lot of clients who are small business owners as well. And so I specifically remembering this one program where we had a client who didn't particularly like the tour guide. The tour guide was amazing. They just didn't think she was very personable.
Mm.
And so the client came up afterwards and found me to tell me that, she's nice and she knows what she's doing. She's very efficient, but we just don't like her. So perhaps could we have a new one for tomorrow? So we handle that as diplomatically as we possibly can. Look, we know who we're working with, and we have a policy where the client is 99.9% right all the time. So we do whatever we possibly can to just make it all go smoothly.
When I have you in private, Sheree, I'll tell you about a meal I had in Los Angeles and the customers at the next table.
I
That
can
was,
probably tell you. I can tell you some stories here too.
oh yes, very interesting. Right. Next question. Do you have any inbound visitors or customers from any European countries, especially the UK?
I thought about that. So the answer is no. And if you want to hear the other part of that, I've thought about perhaps working the UK market and see if we can start using our product for clients from the UK. And the trials that we've done, just in just simple test with a lot of the British expats here in Portugal, it's not the same thing. It's a different travel mentality than what we have experienced from our clients in the US. And so currently we do not have, I'm definitely open to it. I'm not sure how much modification of the product would have to happen for it to work for that particular client.
Yeah. I think from a visitor's perspective, if an American is traveling to Portugal, they've traveled 8 to 10 to maybe 12 hours to get there. It's more of a big deal. Whereas someone from the UK just takes a flight for a couple hours and they're there, and people are used to going to Spain and Portugal for holiday anyway.
Right, exactly. And so that's one of the things that we found, that our UK clients or the potential clients, they did not need the same level of support that a lot of our American clients need and expect. So, and as you can see, our programs are very support heavy.
Interesting, yeah. Well, sometimes Americans do need a little bit more holding hands, don't they?
They do. And I'm American.
Yeah, I'm American too, so we can say it. Now, do you expect any changes in your programs for visiting wineries now that this pandemic is here? How will winery visits change, do you think?
That's a great question. And I've been thinking about that. We, the way our products work now, our winery visits are now, it's all exclusive. We go to wineries when no one else is there. So all of our winery partners have agreed to allow us to have the place to ourselves. Um, I'm not sure. I wish I could give you an answer. I don't know. It's really going to be just trying it out with. We have groups that are ready to come back or ready to come to Portugal as soon as the travel restrictions are relaxed. Groups that were supposed to be here actually right now. So we're just going to have to play it by ear and see how they respond and what their concerns are going to be now in our new normal.
Yeah. That's the subject, well, that's part of the subject of our Food Travel Talk TV in May 15th. We're going to be talking about how food and beverage sampling is going to change in restaurants, food tours, whatever, markets as well. And we have someone who represents the spirits industry. He's worked with a number of brands from whiskey to rum and wine as well, but more from a retail perspective or retail visit perspective. And he'll be sharing his thoughts on that because
Oh, good.
it is something that people are thinking about now. Let's see, another question.
Right. Yes.
Sorry. Is Portugal the only destination you sell or promote, or are you planning other destinations as well?
I get asked that question all the time. So Portugal is the only one that we have now for food and wine. We are thinking about adding Spain, which is a country I actually have lived in before, and I speak Spanish fluently and luckily have connections there. So we're thinking about adding Spain within the next 2 or 3 years, but that thought was, pre our current situation. So we'll see. We'll just have to see how everything pans out. I've been invited to design these programs in Chile, and that just has not come to fruition yet. So
Mm.
I would like to continue to expand this. Our clients want to continue to travel with us, and of course, they want new destinations. But for right now, we only have Costa Rica for language immersion and Portugal for everything that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I would imagine that um, putting together a program like this in Chile would be hard because they don't have the kind of infrastructure to support a successful, I think, or an in-depth food and beverage tourism program. I don't think. I think that there's still room for development there, whereas I think Spain and Portugal are, and France and Italy as well, are all ready for it.
Well, you know what, Eric, when I first started this in 2014, Portugal was not ready for it. There's a lot of growth that's happened over
Mm,
the past 5 to 6 years. And in a lot of cases, our relationships with our partners here is very special because we've taught them how to deal with our types of clients. We were the ones to bring in the first groups of Americans to some of these places. So I am not shy to being a pioneer in that way and going to a new destination and helping them develop their product. And actually, that the conversation with Chile came out of the result of a speaking engagement that I had there with the United Nations World Tourism Organization, where I spoke about the wine tourism products in Portugal, and that's how we talked about wine tourism in Chile at that level.
Super. One last question and then a comment before we wrap up. What time of year do your travelers and guests typically travel to Portugal? Off season,
Oh,
peak, or shoulder?
sure. So for our food and wine, exclusive food and wine products, we usually try to get them here during shoulder season. So we, of course, this is all timed on the best times to visit the vineyards and have one-on-one time with the winemakers when it's not during harvest season or times that they're really, really busy. So we use shoulder season. That usually works best for us. We have a lot of clients who come during off season, especially our retired clients with no small children, and that works very well for them as well.
Mm,
The only tricky point, of course, is weather sometimes, but we're able to find ways to work around that.
sure. And then we have two invitations to you. The Catalan Tourist Board and the Basque Country would like you to contact them.
Thank you.
They'd
Thank you.
like to
I
help you.
love both of those places. Great.
Yeah, they are both great destinations. So,
Yeah,
yeah, well, we can either connect you or you can connect with them in the app for the conference. So,
sounds great. Thank you.
great. All right. Well, really interesting. And I'm glad that we were able to include a gourmet component to our programming. It's something that, like I said before, we don't always talk about, but it is an important market segment, and it is growing. Although our research is showing it's growing ever so slightly, it's still not a major profile that people choose, but it is in the middle of the list, and it's gaining traction. So it's good to see what you're doing, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. All right, so that will do it for this session. And in just over 15 minutes or so, we're going to be talking with Richard Bagnold, who is going to be talking about what is wrong with culinary review sites. And that will be an entertaining session to be sure. So we'll see you all back in the next Zoom room in just over 15 minutes. See you then.
Bye bye. Take care.